Well, welcome to another episode of LorcanaChats. I'm Chris, a.k.a. Questing for Lore. And my guest today is Brandon BSquared24 on just about every platform out there, it seems like. Hey, Brandon.
Hey, how are you, Chris?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Brandon. I go by BSquared24. I am a Disney Lorcana content creator, unofficially. We're supposed to be specific on that. But yeah, unofficially, a Lorcana content creator. I make YouTube videos about Lorcana. A lot of educational stuff is what I try to stick to. The brand that I try to go for my channel is like bridging the gap between new or casual player and then more experienced TCG player because I find I myself am in the middle a little bit. I'm also hang out on Twitter a lot, really involved in the Lorcana community that way. I do a little bit of commentary when people want me to, so I enjoy commentating over competitive stuff as well. But primarily, I would say I do the YouTube thing.
Cool. And you did commentary for the Glimmer Gauntlet, right?
Yes, yeah, the Glimmer Gauntlet was a charity event run by the Glimmer Gang. They asked me to come in and commentate, and I was more than happy to help them with that. It was a really awesome and fun experience. I think they ended up raising like $700 or something like that
It's pretty
for the
good.
event, so it was pretty cool. Yeah, ended up live commentating the finals, and then the videos were pre-recorded, but commentated over a couple of those too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't get to watch all of them. I did watch the finals though. That was a good game.
Yeah, yeah, it was very fun.
Cool. Um, okay, so about your own experiences, I guess. Did you get to play in your local championships?
I did. There's a store that I go to locally that's like, I don't know, probably about 30 to 45 minutes away from me. I live in a really rural area.
Hmm.
And they have like a store in the city that I work in that's about 15 minutes from me. And then they have another store, like I said, about 30 minutes from there that's like their sister store. Um, I participated in the one that was closest to me, and ended up winning the set championship. There were 12 people that showed up to there, so I got the playmat, got the Stitch promo
Nice.
card. That was the first one I competed in last Saturday, and then on Sunday I drove to another city about an hour from me that's a little bit bigger. And there was a store over there having a set championship. There were about 16 people that showed up, and I carpooled with myself and a couple other local people. We went over, and I ended up taking second. So that was
Ah,
fun. I got the other
that's cool.
playmat and got
Hmm.
another Stitch. So that's fun. I have two more opportunities to play this weekend. I don't know. I'll definitely be going to one of them on Saturday. I think depending on how that one goes will likely depend on if I go to the one on Sunday, because the one on Sunday is a little bit further away also, and got plenty of other stuff to catch up on during this reveal season. So
Yeah, yeah. No kidding. Especially the last couple of days. Holy cow.
yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
been kind of crazy with all the reveals.
Yeah. Well, what'd you play?
I played Ruby Amethyst.
Okay.
I'm not typically a Ruby Amethyst player. It's not my like favorite ink combination in the world. I actually really detested that ink combination in the first chapter, and especially in Rise of the Floodborn. So I
Right.
was very happy to see that into the Inklands, the meta balanced out a lot more, and it's a quite healthy meta. There's quite a few decks you could
Mhm.
take and have success with, but it was the deck that I felt most confident bringing into a blind room. I had no idea what everybody else was going to be playing, and I was going to have to rely more on my own skill as a player than I was relying on trying to tech for whatever everybody else is playing or what I expected people to bring. Um, so it was just one of the safest picks. It doesn't have too many horrible matchups, so I just sort of knew that whatever I found in the room, I'd find a way to, beat it, I guess. And it's performed well
Yeah.
for me so far.
Nice. So as you're going to these different kind of locations, the different game shops, do you do you kind of get a different vibe from different ones, or is it all kind of the same kind of, everybody's there for the Lorcana community and just there to play and have fun, or
It's definitely different based on the stores that I go to. I don't know how similar this is to uh, globally or nationally, but because I have to drive, I mean, there's probably an hour and a half difference between the two stores that I go to, like from one to the other. So,
Mhm.
different regions altogether. And I find that the one that I go to locally, there's a couple of us that keep up with the meta a little bit. We want to be good Lorcana players. We enjoy competing, so we plan to go to the Disney Lorcana challenges and things like that. And so there's also a couple people that are a bit more casual that go there, are a little bit newer to TCGs, but we're always trying to build and play as best as we can. Everybody's super friendly there, and we're there like having a fun time, even if we're like I don't know. It's a really fun mix of playing really good Lorcana, but without the I guess sweatiness that comes with a scene like that sometimes. It's very casual,
Yeah.
like we're laughing, we're joking with each other, that kind of thing. But some of the other stores that I go to, especially ones that I'm not um like local to or go to regularly, I'll get a bit more of a casual feel like before the set championships. I traveled out to one of these stores just to play and like see what the vibe was like, see where the event was located so that I knew how to get there. And
Mhm.
they had a couple like card sleeves that I wanted that my local game store didn't carry. So they had a $5 constructed tournament one weekend. So I just ran out there and did that. And everybody seemed a lot more casual than I was expecting, especially for
Yeah.
a constructed tournament. A lot of them brought decks that, were meta decks. But it was just obvious that they played the game a little bit more casually. So that was a little bit of a surprise. And specifically when playing in both of the set championships, the one on Saturday, it was a little bit intense or stressful, partially
Yeah.
because it was the first one. Nobody knows what to expect. Everybody wants that stitch and the playmat, so
Of
everybody's kind of
course.
there to play. Um, and the room was majority people that I knew from my locals, but there were a couple people that came in that none of us had seen before. They came out a couple hours just to show up to the set championship, and it was obvious they were there to win. So it was
Yeah.
very like intense, especially when we were playing up against them. Everyone was kind of trying to hide what deck they were playing, and you could see players walking around like reporting to everyone else like what they saw other people
Oh,
playing.
wow.
Yeah,
Really?
so it was very like sweaty in that regard. But then when I went to the set championship on Sunday, I was the outsider along with some of my friends at my LGS, and we were getting some like side eyes and some people that I could tell didn't really appreciate that we were there because, I don't even think those people
Really?
went to that store regularly, but they're in that area. They play Lorcana in that area, so they didn't
Mhm.
recognize us, and they seemed to be a little bit unhappy with us sort of just showing up, and we ended
Huh.
up performing really well. So um, the vibe
You're
is
the
definitely
wild
different.
cards.
Yeah, like the vibe was very different, sort of depending on where I go, and also depending on the skill level. Some people really like to play really competitive Lorcana and high skilled Lorcana. Some people are just there to have fun, and some
Mhm.
people can do both. Some people are only looking for one or both of those experiences. It's kind of across the board, to be honest with you.
Oh, I mean, it's good that, that it's a wide variety. You kind of
Mm,
hope that, most people are just kind of in it for the fun, but I get it. I
hmm.
mean, it's a competition, right? It's a game. There's, good prizes
Yeah.
for the winners and everything. But yeah, I guess I'm thankful that ours is a little bit more on the casual side.
Hmm.
We have lots of different kind of folks that come in, even kids and stuff come in and
Hmm.
play. I didn't get a chance to go to the set champs here, but I did find a game store while I was traveling, and so I got to sit in on a completely different store. I'd never even been there before. I just happened to spot it and stop in.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was good. It was a fun time. Everybody there was pretty casual about it. You know, and I of course didn't even do very well at all, but it was still fun. It was
Yeah.
good to play with people that I don't normally play with, and
Hmm.
to see some really interesting decks. I got completely annihilated by a John Silver locations deck. I was
Yeah,
not
sometimes
expecting that.
when I was doing some testing, there's some people at my LGS that play off meta decks like that. And
Mhm.
every now and then I'll get paired up against somebody that doesn't play something that I'm used to, and sometimes they'll just wipe me with that. There was a
Yep.
day that I got paired into one of those John. It was like a Ruby Steel John Silver locations deck, and they just came out so aggressive with all their locations with John Silver, and I just didn't have any answer to it, and I
Mhm.
just lost, and I just kind of sat there at the table like, what the heck just happened?
Yep, yep. Yeah, I asked the guy, I was like, "Can I have your deck list? Because I really want to try this out and see how this
Yeah,
goes, because it seems
yeah.
like it would be fun, kind of a one-hit wonder sort of thing,
Hmm.
but still it's nice to try out different stuff than, what everybody else is talking about and oh, what decks won the latest, competitions and stuff. I mean, that's
Hmm.
cool and all, but it's fun to explore. It's fun to kind of mess around a little bit. But you know, you're going to Atlanta, right?
Yes, yeah, I'll be at
Okay.
both the Atlanta Disney Lorcana Challenge, and I'll be at the Chicago Disney Lorcana Challenge. I'm
Oh,
also
nice.
planning to be at the Fort Worth one, so like doing three back to back to back, and then after that, um, short of Ravensburger asking me to come out for some reason, I probably won't make the other ones because
Yeah.
I'm determined to at least show up to the Continentals or and to the Worlds, whether I'm there to compete or do anything else.
Hmm.
And I'll have to save up money for that after that, but I wasn't originally planning on going to the Chicago one as well, but a lot of my friends and a lot of the Lorcana content creators that are over there up in Canada and in that Midwest or Northeast region even
Hmm.
seem to be making that one. And there's a lot of people that I haven't seen yet. Uh, Really, I haven't seen most people since Gen Con of last year. And I really enjoy seeing everybody in person. We interact with each other online all day, but every time that I get to see everybody in person, it just reminds me like just how special that is. So I like try to make those trips when I
Yep.
can. And the Chicago Challenge is an easy excuse to get out there and see a bunch of people that weren't going to make it to the Atlanta Challenge. But I wanted to make sure that I was at the very first Disney Lorcana Challenge just to say that I was there and
Yep.
experience it and see what kind of madness goes on there. And then, yeah, I'll be going to the Chicago one to see all my friends mainly.
Nice. Nice. So speaking of madness, bucket hats.
Yeah, yeah, bucket hats have become part of the brand recently, I guess. It actually sort of started back in Gen Con. While we were all impatiently waiting for the game to come out, pre-August or September of 2023,
Mhm.
there were a lot of us that were making videos on the game and hanging out in different discords. And we all knew that the game was going to be released for the first time to the public at Gen Con. So we all were planning to go to Gen Con. And I'm more of a TCG like fan and player than I was Disney fan before Lorcana.
Mhm.
Um, but I obviously really love Disney. It's part of why I started playing and paying attention to Lorcana, making content on it. But I didn't really have any Disney apparel or anything. So one of my favorite characters is Stitch, and one of my favorite movies is Lilo and Stitch. And so I would check Shop Disney every now and then. I was like, I have to get some Disney merch to wear at Gen Con because everybody else is going to be wearing Disney stuff, and it's going to be a fun time. Um, and there was this really fun looking Stitch bucket hat that I was like, oh, this is perfect. It's like it's black, a couple colors on it, it's got Stitch on the front, it's my favorite character. Um, I'll bring that and I'll wear that. And so I ordered it, and it ended up being this very bright bucket hat. Like it's in person, it's very vibrant because it has like highlighter pink and yellow and blue, like little
Oh,
squigglies
goodness.
on it.
Yeah.
Um, so it kind of became this thing where like some of the days that I would wear it, if you haven't been to Gen Con, the exhibit hall is huge. Like it's ginormous. It's very easy to lose people, especially, I mean, just like any other convention with so many people walking
Hmm.
around. And it became this joke where like, no matter where I was in the exhibit hall, people could find me because like the hat just stuck out like a sore thumb. Like it was so bright.
Yep.
Um, so everybody like complimented the hat, and then John T, my co-host for This Week in Ink, he was like, I hate the hat, it looks so silly on you, and like that's just a surefire way for me to like commit to a bit and just wear it anyway.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So after Gen Con, came home, and then the first large Lorcana tournament ever was held in Miami. I think it was in October. And so myself and a lot of my other friends flew out there and decided to go to that. And I wore the Stitch bucket hat like while I was playing, and I was like, I'm just gonna make this a thing where like people can recognize me with the bucket hat whenever I'm at a
Yep.
convention or whatever. At the time, we didn't know there were going to be official events, but if there were ever official events, people will be able to spot me and say and come up and say hi to me because they'll see the bucket hat, and like that's just going to be part of the brand. And so it's just sort of turned into this thing where when I show up to a tournament, especially one that I really care about or want to try really hard in, I put the bucket hat on and I wear it. And it's sort of become this like lucky bucket hat sort of thing
Yep.
because
Yeah.
I've had a lot of success when I wear the bucket hat, and I've had not a lot of success when I don't wear the bucket hats. So it's just kind of turned into one of those things. And I'll be honest, I did not expect the bit to take off as much as it has. I
It
wore
really
it
has.
yeah, I wore it sort of as a, just again committing to the bit to the set championships. And I had no idea how I was going to do at the set championships. I was nervous. But the very first one took and took first place, and the second one I got second place, both of them wearing the bucket hat. Um, and I just kind of made some jokes about it on Twitter, and then people ran with it and started sending me pictures of them wearing their bucket hats, like going to
Yeah.
league
People
and
are
making
like
top
buying
cut.
bucket hats specifically.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing. And now people are like, well, what kind of bucket hat do I need to get? I feel like I need to buy one now. Like I need one for Atlanta. And so it's both like making me laugh really hard and it's making me really happy. And it's just like so funny. It makes me so happy when I see somebody tweet about it or mention it. And if I show up to Atlanta and there's 10 people wearing a bucket hat just like for the bit, I'm gonna be so happy. Like I want a picture with everybody.
Yep.
Um,
Get the group photo. Yep.
yeah, so it's been really fun. It's been part of the brand. When I did my rebrand to actually get like a decent logo and stuff,
Mhm.
the artist originally put a baseball cap on Bear Bear, who's the like mascot for the channel. And I was like, the baseball hat just like doesn't fit. What can I do? And I was like, bucket hat. This thing has to wear a bucket hat. And as
Of
soon as
course.
that happened, it just like cemented it. It was so fun. So it's turned into this thing. I'm glad it has. It's just part of the brand now. Just like Stitch or Helga or anything else that has happened
Yep.
so far.
Yep. Nice. Well, I have yet to purchase a bucket hat, but I'm debating, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh, go ahead.
nobody's required to buy a bucket hat. A thing that I get a lot of times is like, I feel people feel really goofy in a bucket hat.
Mhm.
And I think it's funny because some people will tell me that I'm the only person they've seen that can like rock a bucket hat. I'm like, I don't feel like I rock a bucket hat at all. Like I feel just as silly as you probably feel when you wear one. And I've told people like the secret is nobody looks good in a bucket hat. You just have to wear it with confidence.
Yeah, I
And
was
like,
gonna say it's all about the confidence, right?
yeah. And so like that's all I do. I put it on and I'm like, this is goofy, this is silly, but like I'm playing a card game with Disney characters on it. Like this whole
Right.
thing is silly and goofy. And like I try to have the worldview and mentality of like, people need a little bit of silliness and goofiness in their life, and like
Oh yeah.
it's okay to be that. You don't have to be so serious all the time. And so like if I look funny running around town with a Stitch bucket hat that doesn't match whatever else I'm wearing, like so be it. It's just, hopefully it makes somebody's day, or at the very least I'm laughing about it. So
Nice. Nice. So you mentioned that that Lorcana is not your first TCG. What did you kind of
Mhm.
start out playing, or what have you played in the past?
So I feel like this is a like a tale as old as time with a lot of other people my age or even a little bit older. I grew up watching Pokemon and watching Yu-Gi-Oh on TV. It's
Mhm.
Saturday morning cartoons, and because of that, I collected both Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I probably never played the trading card game correctly, but I do have memories of like me and all my friends in elementary school, or even before that, like playing our Charizards and our Pikachus and things like that, and just having fun with the card game. And I did that for a while, and I don't know why, but I was always just drawn to it, and really interested in it. So I did that for a while. Once I got a little bit older, probably into junior high, there were less and less people around me that were really interested in that kind of thing.
Mhm.
My parents certainly didn't know about like trading card games and local game stores, and that like they could have brought me somewhere to play with people or anything like that. And I don't think it was really a hobby they understood either. And because there wasn't very many people around me to play with, and because I didn't understand all the things about it other than just collecting them because I thought they looked fun,
Mhm.
I stopped collecting those and I started playing digital card games. The first of which being Hearthstone. I
Right.
played a lot of Hearthstone. I think when I was in junior high, just more or less just having fun with that game. Wasn't really playing it competitively. I would play ranked every now and then, but like I was a junior high kid who didn't know anything about trading card games and like the how to be good at one. But there were a lot of players that I watched, and live streaming was becoming a big thing at that time, and so I spent a lot of
Mhm.
time doing that. Played a lot of Hearthstone. Then I stopped doing that for a while in high school. There was kind of a break where I just honestly didn't play very many games at all. I was really big into like sports at that time. And then once I got into college, there was a digital card game, Legends of Runeterra, that Riot Games had released. And
Yeah.
as early as their like open beta, I was playing that game because I had started playing League of Legends for a while and really liked the Riot Games or the Runeterra universe and a lot of the characters and stories that they built in that. So to see that turn into a card game, I thought was really fun. And I played that pretty much all the way through college. It was the first card game that I ever took seriously, in all honesty. It was one that I wanted to be good at. It taught me a lot of fundamentals about card games that I carry now into other card games. And
Mhm.
it was the first time that I ever like really tried to push myself on ranked ladder or like follow any competitive scene or anything like that. And so spent a lot of time doing that. And then took a small break from that. And in November of 2022, um, I was like, honestly, I was going through a lot of therapy. And like one of the things at the time was sort of like, I don't even know how to word this, but like doing things for your inner child, I guess, like things that maybe you were ashamed
Yeah.
of doing that you didn't have the opportunity to do when you were a kid. Um, and so I was realizing through this time, um, that card games was something that I really liked to do, but it wasn't a hobby that I was ever able to share with anyone, and it wasn't one that ever made sense. And I didn't really embrace that hobby because, I mean, I live in the I don't live in the deep south. People down here wouldn't say I live in the deep south, but I live in Louisiana,
Yeah.
so it's about as south as you can get for the United
Okay.
States. And um there's just not a lot of people around here that are into that thing. It's a lot of like sports and hunting and football and
Yep.
beer and like, like just that kind of thing. And that's just not me, really.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so it was something that I was kind of ashamed of for a while, or at least something that a hobby that I hid or an interest that I hid. Because like again, like I said, my parents weren't really into it. They're not really into like board games or anything like that. And so going through some of that process of uh learning some of those things about myself, I was like, man, I really like this card game thing. And I didn't even realize just how big like this is, TCGs are.
Mhm.
And so literally one day going home from work, I was like, I know there's a game store in this college town. I've walked in the door a couple times just to see what it was and never in and left and never did anything. So one day, going home, I stopped by the game store and I was like, I'm gonna buy some Pokemon packs and I'm just gonna open them and like we'll see if I get something cool. And that's all we're gonna do. And then we're just gonna kind of like leave it and sort of do something for myself. And walked in, bought some Silver Tempest Pokemon TCG packs. And at
Mhm.
one of the first packs that I opened, I pulled one of the like alternate rare, like it wasn't like a super expensive card, but it was just one of the like trainer gallery cards that they had. But it was cool to me to like pull a card that was different from all the others, and I've like felt that
Yeah,
rush
yeah,
again, and a
definitely.
lot of that comeback of this thing that I sort of hadn't let myself enjoy and appreciate. So I was like, I really like this. So I'm gonna start looking into Pokemon a little bit more. Started playing Pokemon relatively seriously, because I had to do a lot of catching up with the format and how people play the game. And it was my first physical TCG since I was a child.
Mhm.
And started getting really into that. And then very shortly after that, in January 2023, is when I first was introduced to Lorcana. I saw it in an IGN article, and I was like, "This is really cool. I'm gonna start paying attention to this," and put Pokemon down for a while, and then we're kind of here after that.
So that's kind of what initially drew you to Lorcana, just the background in TCGs and just saying, hey, this is a new thing. It looks really interesting, or what about it?
Kinda. I was definitely itching to participate in a physical trading card game.
Mhm.
I wanted to like meet new people. I had no idea that like trading card games, at least physical trading card games, lended themselves to so much travel and like seeing lots of the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
But the more that I learned, it was like, oh yeah, there's these regionals like all over the country and all over the world, and people travel to these regionals and have a fun time into worlds and things like that. So I was already like looking at a trading card game. And like I said, I grew up watching Pokemon and stuff. So the IP was part kind of special to me, which is why I played that at first. But I am a Disney kid. Like I grew up watching Disney movies and watching Disney shows, and like I have a sister that's 4 years younger than me. So like I was probably watching Disney Channel a lot longer than a lot of other people were who didn't have younger siblings.
Yep.
So and I love Disney. I'll never forget in my LGS's Discord, somebody posted that article that IGN posted in January, and the first thing I saw was the Brave Little Tailor Mickey art, and I was like,
Hmm.
"This looks great! Like this looks
Yep.
good." And we obviously knew nothing about how the game played, but I was like, "It was Disney." Then I, looked at all the other cards. I think there were probably like 9 cards total or 10 cards total at the time that we
Yeah.
had even seen, but I saw that it was all original art. I did a little bit of digging as much as I could about the game, and it looked really promising. And I was like, if there's always this talk about the big three. You have like Magic and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh.
Hmm.
And I was like, if there's ever a card game that's going to be able to break into this big three, it's going to be one that has a Disney IP. Like no other
Oh,
IP is going to be able
definitely.
to compete with this. Um, so I was like, I want to get into this on the ground floor, partially because I won't have a history of cards that I need to learn and keep up with.
Yeah.
I can start brand new, and it'll be, if it does turn out to be a great game and it's one that I decided to play for a long time, it'll just be awesome to be like, I was there, at the very beginnings of this game.
Right. Right.
And so shortly after reading that IGN article, I like went to YouTube, I went to Spotify, tried to find as many podcasts and videos as I could about the game, and was very surprised at how little there was out there.
Hmm.
Citizens of Lorcana was doing their thing. I think Glimmer Gang was
Right.
doing their thing. Jaunty was one of the first, probably the first Lorcana video that I ever watched, and then next was probably the Illumineers.
Hmm.
And there were a couple more people, but that was about it. Like there was not near as much like buzz about the game as I was expecting there to be after seeing this article. And so then I just like dove headfirst. I joined the Disney Lorcana HQ Discord, which is like kind of the main hangout place for a while in those early days. And I mean, spent all day, every day in there talking to everybody. We were going over the same arguments every day on like what is challenge and how is this game played. But it was so fun. But I'd say primarily the art at first, and then definitely the community after that is what like drew me and has kept me in the game for sure.
Nice. Nice. And so now here you are creating your own content for
Yeah,
Lorcana and everything, and working with
yeah.
Jonty on This Week in Ink. When did you guys start that up?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think we're on episode like 20 something, almost 30 something. So however many weeks back that would be, it was definitely. Oh man, it's hard for me to put a saw date. Okay, so it was definitely before Miami. So that would have been before October of 2023. So it must have been pretty shortly after the release of the game. It was after Gen Con, but before Miami.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, that was kind of it's one of those weird things in life where like I don't know if anybody else does this. I think everybody does. You watch a lot of people on YouTube, you watch these like content creators or celebrities or like whatever tier you look at. And you're like, oh, these people are really cool. They're always behind this camera. There's this face or this voice that you see. And you admire them for like the work that they do.
Hmm.
And I did the same thing with all the people in the Lorcana community. But like I mentioned earlier, when I looked at content for the game, it was very lacking. Like there just wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot. There wasn't. I was expecting like higher quality videos and more videos of just like as many people talking about this as possible. And I mean, there were a handful of people that were talking about this. And something that I've always enjoyed doing is like making YouTube videos. I've had previous like videos that I've made for my channel, mainly just like
Hmm.
gaming stuff that I did with friends. And growing up, I would make vlogs and I would make videos and things like that for myself. So it's always something that I kind of enjoyed. Um, and I knew that I wanted, if I got into a TCG, I'd want to take it seriously. And when I saw that lack that like there was content that was lacking in the space. I saw that as an opportunity for myself to like step in and make videos for. And so um there was a lot of inspiration that I pulled from some Pokemon creators, one of them being Dawasi or Ross or PTCG Radio. He's a Pokemon YouTuber, also
Hmm.
commentator. And his videos are like very bare bones, but he talks a lot about the news around Pokemon and even some other card games. And um, there's a couple others that I could list off, but I was like, nobody's doing that. Like John T would put his face in front of a camera and he'd talk about stuff. And like the Glimmer Gang had their podcast, the Illuminatiers are doing art, Citizens of Lorcana had this, and still have this great branding of like new players to TCGs experiencing this card game as it's coming out and learning it. And I was like,
Hmm.
but there's nobody that's doing the like digital animated like video where there's no face. It's kind of just information thrown at you. And I was like, I
Right.
can do that. I have plenty of experience in the video software from like other stuff that I've done. And I even kind of preferred to not like show my face and just kind of do that thing. So I worked really hard on the first video, the first Lorcana video that I ever put up, which I look at now and I like can't even watch. Like
Yeah.
I worked on this
Yeah.
thing like for probably a week, like slaved over it, wanted it to be so good. Because I almost felt this bubble rising that was like about to pop, and I knew that there was about to be a lot of people coming into this space, and if I
Hmm.
didn't make something quickly that like got people's attention and was worth watching, I might be behind the curve. So I spent a ton of time working on this video, spent a ton of time working on the thumbnail, and then I posted the video and the thumbnail in the HQ Discord and on YouTube. And I remember telling myself, like, if this gets 40 views, if 40 people watch this video, I will be ecstatic. Like, that would be an insane number for just like my very first video, this guy that nobody knows about. And it was extremely well received by the HQ community, like way better than I could have ever expected it. And it ended up getting like 400 views or something like that, like at the end of the
Nice.
week. And
Oh, at the end of the week, that's awesome.
yeah, and so like at the um some people already knew me because I was really active in the Discord at the time,
Hmm.
but a lot of people seemed to appreciate my content. They thought it was quality and well made, which I just kind of laugh at now, because it definitely wasn't. And
Well, at the time, like
yeah,
when we were still
exactly,
kind of starved for content, getting that
exactly.
stuff out there.
I think everybody was just like itching for anything that they could consume that was Lorcana. So that probably had a little bit to do with it. But started doing that, and then after that, I would make regular videos as cards got revealed, and that sort of thing. And so anyway, I've said all this because there were people like John T that I looked up to, that I knew had a previous YouTube career where it was like something he did full time. And now he's doing Lorcana, and he at the time was the largest subscribed to Lorcana page. And it was really weird when I started like communicating with these other creators on a almost equal level. Like there was a time where I think some of that was built up to, but I think it was like before I had even been making YouTube videos for a year, I was already on This Week in Ink with John T. I'd been invited
Hmm.
onto the Illuminatiers Lorcana live stream, and like a year ago or before I had been making videos, it would have been I wouldn't have known what to think if me now would have told me then, hey, like you're gonna be friends with all these guys. You're gonna talk to these
Yeah.
people on a
Yeah.
regular basis, and you're gonna have a weekly live show with these people that you look up to because of their content. And you wouldn't think like watch your content, or like bother to do it. And genuinely, a lot of it is just because I just did it. Like um, I just didn't really care about like whether it was going to be well received or not. I just did it and put it out there, and people
Hmm.
joined and enjoyed it. And I just asked people it's like to be involved, like Hobbies and Happiness. They had another great YouTube channel that covers Lorcana. They in the early days did these Lorcana roundtables, and they'd be like 4 hour live streams on a
Oh,
Friday
wow.
night where they'd have like basically anybody that they could pull in that was covering Lorcana content. And if we had a card to talk about that week, we'd talk about it. If not, we'd talk about topics because we didn't know anything about the game. So we'd talk about anything we could think of regarding a trading card game.
Hmm.
And I asked Dan, I DM'd Dan one day. I think it was before my first video was even out. I was like, hey, I know that I'm like not a content creator right now because I don't have a video out, but I'm working on one and it's gonna be out by the time the next thing comes on. Can I come on your show? And he was like, yeah. Yeah, he absolutely did not have to tell me yes. I still don't know why he did.
Yeah.
Because all he knew about me was that I was active in the HQ Discord, but he invited me onto that. I got to meet a lot of the other content creators and sort of start to make my create a name for myself in the community. And yeah, I mean, since then it's just been making more videos and doing that kind of thing, I guess.
Nice. Well, so as a content creator starting out myself, and I know there's tons of other people out there either thinking about it or, starting
Hmm.
their own stuff. What kind of advice do you have for people that are, just starting out on it?
Yeah, this is always a difficult question for me to ask because there's a couple answers that I want to give that almost seem contradictory. The first one is to if you want to make content, just do it. Like a lot of us have access to phones. A lot of us have access to more than you would think. The video software that I use, or the video editing software that I use to edit all my videos is completely free. Like I haven't had to put very much money at all into the stuff that I do until after I started making content and started building an audience. And like even if it's not the best that it could be, make it and release it. The time that it takes to get a video or whatever content you want to do from 0% to 90%, it it takes just as much time or more time to get that thing from 90% to 100%. And sometimes even
Mhm.
more time to get it from 99% to 100%. And sometimes you just have to say, especially as fast as Lorcana moves regarding news and card reveals and topics and things like that. Sometimes you have to get to that 90% and say, this is good enough, and I'll release it. I probably have more videos that have video editing mistakes that I didn't catch before I released the video than I do videos that are like perfect. And that's just because, you know, card reveals flood in and you just have to put out videos about it if that's your thing and go with it. So part of my advice would just be like do it, and don't worry too much about getting things perfect, and don't worry about how well it is or isn't getting received. There's obviously a lot that you can learn through analytics. I do stuff on YouTube, so I have YouTube analytics. There's other analytics people have access to depending on what content they make. And I would pay
Mhm.
attention to those things. And it's really important to try to learn from other YouTubers or insert whatever content you're doing here, people that are already doing well, and learn from those people and see what they're doing right or maybe what they're doing what you're not doing to give yourself a little bit more success. But um like it's very difficult to do, and doesn't always apply, but for the most part I would just say like ignore the numbers. Like if you want to
Yeah.
make content, and try to do it consistently. That's another big one. I'm really bad at this. My videos usually like I'll usually make 5 videos in a month, and then I won't make anything for a month or two because I'll burn out, and then I'll make a bunch more videos, as the set cycles come around. I'm trying to get better at it, but
Hmm.
Consistency is really big. And then there was one more thing that I was going to say, and I'm blanking on it. And it was like one of the more important things that I was going to say too. So, um,
It's all right. It'll come back to you in like an hour after we're done talking.
yeah, yeah. I'll be so mad if that happens. What was the first thing that I even said? It was like, was it
Just
just,
do
oh,
it.
okay.
Consistency. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this is where like things get a little contradictory, but I think it's important. Um, if you do want to see success in your content, and what I contribute some of my success to, a part of all of this is luck at the end of the day, like being in the right place at the right time and setting yourself up
Hmm.
to be lucky and being prepared to be lucky. But try to make quality content. Like as much as I just talked about, like just doing it and just getting to 90%, like I said, I slaved for a week over that first video that is horrible. Like if I watched that video now, me now would not release that video. But at the time it was like the best that I could do. And I released it. And uh quality content is something that I've that's really important to myself because
Hmm.
um everybody is trying to get everybody else's attention, especially in the content
Yeah.
space. And so if all you're doing is pressing play and then uploading the video, some that works for some people and some people like that. But I find that you will um, have faster growth if you do as much as you can with your content.
Hmm.
And I think that's a fine balance to have of like making it quality enough that people will watch it while not spending more time than you need to or you should on the content and never uploading it, because
Right.
there's kind of
Right.
two ends of that spectrum that I find people on is they either don't put enough effort into their content and they don't see a lot of growth because of that, or they try to put too much effort into their content and they never upload anything because it's like that's not sustainable.
Hmm.
So I don't know. That's a long-winded answer to
Oh,
that
it's perfect.
question, but that's just stuff that I've found in my very short content journey so far.
No, that's perfect. I appreciate it. It's always interesting, like I said, I've talked to a couple other creators out there, and it's always interesting to hear different people's answers because everybody's
Mm-hmm.
experiences are different. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really cool though. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so getting back to kind of the community side of things, what is your own personal favorite part about the community?
This community has been the most like welcoming community, at least in the TCG space that I've experienced and that I've seen. And that's not to say that other TCGs aren't welcoming, but I don't know, something's different about this community. Even
Hmm.
back in February of 2023, again before we knew much about the game, there were about 2 weeks that I kind of had to go MIA for some personal stuff that had happened, um, and I'll never forget like about 2 weeks after I had left. I came back and I started checking the Discord again, and I saw a bunch of people talking about something, and I just responded to like a question that somebody had. And the community was so tight at that time. The moment that they saw like I had responded to something and I was back, I was flooded with messages about like, oh, we're happy to see you again. Like, we're happy you're back. And it
Oh,
was like
nice.
overwhelming in the best way. Um, and so there's that. Katie and Becky from Live Laugh Lorcana and a couple other content creators have done a really awesome job at um, prioritizing inclusivity for this game.
Hmm.
TCGs, I think, are not exactly known for being inclusive and can sometimes be known for
Yeah.
the opposite of that. And I do think it's something super important. And even before they were around, I remember conversations happening around the community about this being a Disney card game. And like, because it's a Disney card game, there's going to be all kinds of people who are new to trading card games or people that you may not normally see at a Magic tournament that are going to show up to Disney tournaments. And like, it's going to be super, super important for the community and for the growth of the game that we're as nice and welcoming as possible. And not only being nice and welcoming to those people, but also not letting other people and calling other people out when they're not being nice and welcoming, or when they're harassing
Yep.
people or annoying people, or
That's
not
a
really
great
living
point.
up to the kind of community we want to build up. And so one of the things that I've absolutely loved watching about this community is people like Katie and Becky from Live Laugh Lorcana, Rebecca from the Illuminary, Dan and Lily. And I know they announced a podcast today, and then
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Cypher, they're doing something, and all three of those have also been people that have been really outspoken about inclusivity for the community. um Liam did like women's rounds tables every now and then for their live streams, which are really awesome. And so being able to see like how much this is being talked about in the community and how important it is to a lot of people. And there's still areas of the community that I think could probably like do a better job at doing this, or acknowledging it, or getting rid of some of those habits that come like with certain parts of a TCG community. As a whole, I think it's very outspoken, and like I'm just glad that this community has that conversation, and that I can even feel comfortable coming on to a podcast like this and talking about it, because in
Hmm.
some spaces it might feel weird or out of pocket to like bring up inclusivity for minority people. And it's like I feel like it's such a regular conversation, or at least it is for me in the communities that I'm in for Lorcana. It doesn't feel uncomfortable. It just feels like talking about it like I do every other day. So I think it's something that's super important for the game, and especially for the longevity of the game and the growth of the game. If I'm somebody that really believes in Disney Lorcana, I believe this game can like top every other TCG given some time. And like if that is going to happen, we're going to have to be inclusive and inviting, because we're not just
Definitely.
attracting people who like TCGs, we're attracting Disney fans, and Disney fans come from all over. And that's something that not only the community has voiced, but I even remember Ryan talking about in interviews as early as like January or February about how important like inclusivity and making sure that the game was accessible to people who were Disney fans and new to the game and things like that. So I think it's like awesome for those reasons. And anytime I see or hear that somebody is playing Lorcana and they've never played TCGs before, it just like makes me so happy. And I tell them how awesome that is if I'm there in person, or just like try to cheer them on as best as I can. If not, that absolutely is my favorite part of the community for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's so great that this kind of stuff is starting off now, versus
Hmm.
getting, a couple of years down the line and being like, okay, we have a problem. We need
Yeah.
to do something about it. Um, it's really great, and it's great to have people that, are constantly talking about it, right? Like you said,
Hmm.
it's not a conversation that's uncomfortable, really. There might be
Hmm.
some people that kind of have, they're like, oh, I don't really want to talk about that anymore, but it's good that there's people that really want that to succeed and want it to succeed for, as many people as possible, right?
Hmm.
Um, so it's not just the women's roundtable. It's wider than that, for a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
different communities. Yeah. So nice. Well, you kind of actually gotten touched on my next topic there about, what you think can make the community better. Is there any other places you see that we could improve?
Um, I know that Jared mentioned this on your episode with him, but I would love to see a juniors division for this game.
Yep.
Coming from Pokemon, they have that going on, and I think it's awesome to have a place for those different age groups. Because even though I do believe and know that there are kids out there who can keep up with adults. I don't remember her
Oh,
name.
yes.
I know there's a really famous like girl that plays Magic, and she keeps up and like wins tournaments with all these other adults. And like it's not so much because I don't think like they can keep up, but even as an adult, I remember how nervous I was walking into my LGS for the first time to
Hmm.
play Pokemon with people that I didn't know, and people who already played the game. And um not everybody has a parent or somebody who's like super supportive or also invested in the game to be there with them. And just having a space that the kids can like go and meet other kids and then play with other kids and other people their age, but also not have to deal with any of the other bad apples or any of the adults who don't know how to interact with kids in a very comfortable way, or
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah,
Because like a lot of us are awkward, right? Like,
yeah.
um, I just think it's really important for like them to have their own division, and also the entertainment and competitive side of me also loves having a like being able to watch children who are into the game early sort of like grow into like the adult scene and become like make a name for themselves. It's really awesome to
Hmm.
watch them grow as players and watch them play. And I mean, like, people would be surprised at just how well some of these kids can play TCGs,
Oh
even better
yeah.
than a lot of other adults that I know, and probably even myself. Um, so I think that would be really something that I would love to see. And I know that Ravensburger has mentioned they're like looking into it, or like, talking about it internally at the very least,
Hmm.
which is really awesome to see. There's obviously nothing at the first couple Disney Lorcana challenges, but I wouldn't be surprised if something comes along regarding that. The only other thing, kind of going back to like the minority stuff, I know we talk about it a lot, but I mean, I still think there's work that can be done in the community. I think there's always work that can be done in the community, and
Oh yeah.
um, I know there's a lot of talk recently between like competitive and casual spaces and things like that. And
Hmm.
something that I hear a lot is at tournaments, you still kind of see like middle-aged white guys. They're all in the top eight, and like there's nobody else. And it's
Right.
like, I think it's important to, and I think part of the reason for that isn't so much because like those are the best players in the world. I think it's because that there's just a lack of representation. And so I get really
Hmm.
excited when I hear people like Katie from the Hakuna Lorcana podcast mentioned recently that like she's had gone to a couple tournaments for the first time, and or like actually quite regularly I'll see different uh, women content creators that I follow like question if they should go to this X tournament, and they'll talk about it. And like I think that's telling in and of itself that it's something they kind of have to question in the first place.
Yep.
Um, but I also get so proud and like try to cheer them on when they do go to the tournament, no matter how they do, because even if they don't do well, I think it's super important for there to be representation. And that isn't just about gender, that's about race too.
Hmm.
Like I think it's super important for people to be represented. And even though it might be difficult to, I can't imagine how difficult it would be because I'm a straight white guy. Like, there's 100 people that look exactly like me at my LGS.
Yep.
Um, but I can only imagine how difficult it is for um, people who don't have that luxury to like continue to show up and represent, their group of people
Hmm.
regularly. But I think it's awesome that they do. And I think the rest of us should be especially welcoming and inviting and making sure those people are comfortable um, and accepted in that
Yeah,
community too. And
definitely.
hopefully we'll see even more people, come out and be build up the courage and be comfortable enough to show up and continue to come back.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I look forward to, to that kind of community
Mm-hmm.
where it's not,
Yeah.
not the restricted kind of stuff. It's everybody's welcome, regardless
Mm-hmm.
of background, skill level, anything like that. So that would be that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that we're trying to drive towards that at least, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, and it's hard for me to say if we're doing any better or worse than the other community, but it feels like we are.
yeah,
As much as we talk about it and as much representation as there is currently, I think we're doing okay. But I don't think we should ever settle, right? I think we can continue to do better on that. So it's
yeah,
always something that I try to talk about and bring up.
always improving, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, speaking of the future, what kind of stuff would you like to see in the future of the game? Either, the actual
Oh,
gameplay kind of thing or, just I don't know.
so
What?
uh, I um at my core, really love to watch competitive play.
Hmm.
Even now, I don't keep up with Pokemon very much, but they have a regional like every other week or every month. They're like pretty regularly, and I'll still on a Saturday or Sunday just throw on their live stream and watch people play because I don't know why. It's just so fun for me to see um, people play card games competitively or like esports
Mhm.
competitively or things like that. And that's why I was very excited when we finally got an official circuit for Disney Lorcana because I was hoping that was something that they would do. And I got very excited when I learned there was going to be a Worlds and a Continentals, and they were really diving deep into this thing. And then there was so much demand that they, had to increase capacity and
Yeah,
even
by
talk
a
about
lot
adding,
too.
yeah, by a lot, and having to add or like potentially adding a couple more Disney World kind of challenges before Continentals or Worlds. So there's huge demand for it. And as some, not just because I want to be a commentator, that's sort of one of my next goals. I'd love to commentate an official event. It's just like it's so fun to watch, and once a competitive scene forms, you get a lot of personalities that come out. Like Zach Bivens is somebody that I
Mhm.
immediately think about. He's sort of become a big name in the Lorcana community. Same thing with Brendan DeCandio. Like they're competitive
Yep.
players. They're starting to make names for themselves. It makes for very exciting events and very exciting coverage for those events. So like obviously we already have those events coming, but I'd love to see some really high quality coverage of those events because it's just like it's so fun to have a story and to have an underdog and to like follow
Yeah.
players as they go from challenge to challenge. And there's going to be upsets and there's going to be like really fun. I don't know, it just like it really gets me going. It really makes me excited, and so fun to watch and follow. And also, like the more that that kind of stuff is highlighted, hopefully, the more people watch those players. And the more people watch those players, the better. Hopefully, they become at the game because they're watching the best in the world play the game.
Right.
So sort of is something like for myself that I would love to see that. I would love to see high quality coverage of the competitive scene for this game, and I'd really love if I could also be a part of it. But who knows if that's going to happen or not. The only other thing is, and Ravensburger's already like ahead on this. It feels like they're 3 steps ahead of even where I'm thinking half the time. But like casual play and way to give people who don't want to engage in the game in a competitive um, atmosphere, a way to continue to enjoy the game,
Mhm.
would be awesome. We're obviously getting the Lumineer quest, which I'm really excited for. It's
Yeah.
something that I'm not familiar with in any other game, or at least haven't seen in any other game. And it seems like something that would be not only super fun for people who don't care to engage in competitive play as much as I do, but also a tool to bring people into the game who maybe wouldn't normally play a trading card game. I feel like it
Yep.
would be something pretty easy, almost like a board game that you could pull out and be like, hey, let's play this. And then they learn it's a trading card game. You can collect all these cards, you can build these new decks, and you just kind of start that snowball going, and hopefully that pulls other people in. I'd love at some of these events, I hope there's a ton of side events. I hope the side events aren't just for competitive play. I hope there's a lot of casual. I don't really know how to categorize these things. So like other ways to play the game that's like super fun for anybody that's there and at any
Mhm.
skill level and rewarding for those skill levels. I think that's something that um Ravensburger has struggled with a little bit here in the beginning. It's like the way that leagues are run and sort of making leagues feel rewarding for people that aren't just good at the game, like earning
Right.
promos and
Yeah.
things that way. But as far as I understand, they're continuing to work on that. And I'd love to see that for like the newer players or less invested players or however you want to categorize those people, because they're a really important part of the community. And again, kind of going back to the um, thing about this game pulling in Disney fans or people that are newer to trading card games, like that group's very important.
Mhm.
If only people who played TCGs played this game, we'd probably lose a large majority of our population, because a lot of people play this game because it's a Disney card game and started playing this game because it's Disney or just collect it because it's Disney. So I think it's really important to cater to those people as well. And I'm not smart enough to come up with ideas on like how to do that. So it's just something that I kind of hope for. And Ravensburger has seemed to do a pretty good job so far on a lot of things. And so I'm just sort of excited to see how they tackle those things. And it's already starting with the Illuminator Quest and even the I forget what it's
Mhm.
called, but that other the the other thing that they're releasing that's for like new players. I can't remember what it's
Oh,
called.
yeah, that starter thing. I forget what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
forget what they
Yeah.
called
I
it.
know what you're talking about though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the way that they've been really receptive to the community too. It's
hmm
not just like, here's what we're gonna do because we think it's best. They've got, so many people that are actually, in the community. They're sitting on the
hmm
Discords, they're talking in the channels to everybody and really trying to figure out what's going on, what the pulse of the community is, and just how they can improve in the future. Now, obviously they've got certain things that they have to worry about, but um, you know, they're doing good in my opinion.
Yeah,
So,
I would agree. It's kind of impressive to me how um ingrained they are in the community, like so much
mhm.
so that people from the community are getting hired to work on parts of the game that they're like really ingrained in. Like I don't spend a ton of time in the rules channel, but I know there was a guy that I think his name's Kyle that spent a lot of time in the rules channel for a
Yep.
long time, and like he recently got hired by Ravensburger. I don't know exactly what he does, but like hired to sort of do something within the rules for the game. And so it's like it's just kind of really cool to see that. It was really awesome to see the Illuminateers on the Lorecast, the first ever
Yeah,
Lorecast, and
that was
like
crazy.
just that they recognize, community members that have invested a lot of time and their heart and like they just love this game, and to recognize that and bring those people in and say, hey, like we see how much work you do for this game, how much you love this game, so we just want you to be a part of it. Like it's really
Hmm.
cool. And then anytime something happens and there needs to be a fix for the community, whether it's reprinting cards faster than I ever expected them to like get a reprint out to meet demand, or whether it's increasing the size of the venue for the tournament because there was an overabundant, like way more people than they were expecting. Like,
Yep.
they're kind of hitting it out of the ballpark for that kind of stuff. They get a lot of hate for it when it happens, but ultimately it's because so many people want to play this game, right? Like so many people want to
Right.
be involved in the game that everybody gets mad that they can't be. And I think that gets overlooked sometimes. They've definitely had their bumps and there's some things that they can do better, but like I think overall they're killing it. Like they're doing an awesome job, especially for a company that has never made a trading card game before, doesn't know all the ins and outs of this business, and like they're working their way through it kind of all on the fly. They're doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And being relatively quick about it too,
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, the whole thing with Atlanta selling out so quickly, I think it was like a week later. And they said, hey, we're gonna expand it, we're gonna, put out more
Mm-hmm.
tickets. And I mean, that's super fast to, like, as
Yeah.
somebody who's done event planning in the past, to find out how to shift an entire event to a different location that quickly and be able to say, yeah, we have this amount of capacity because we know we moved it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Somebody definitely knows what they're doing at
Yes.
Ravensburger. And it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, like it's I wouldn't have been surprised had they just been able to increase the capacity a little bit or like as much as they could. The fact
Hmm.
that they like tripled it or quadrupled it or whatever
Yeah.
they did, like
Yeah.
to a number that even like Pokemon regionals aren't reaching those numbers. They're in the thousands or 1500s. And like the fact that 2,000 people were trying to get tickets for the first Disney Lorcana challenge, couldn't, and then they found a way to like create that much space so that they can
Hmm.
accommodate that many people within a week or whatever, like is mind-boggling to me. It's crazy how well they were able to handle that.
Yep, definitely. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come and sit down and chat with me. I do have a couple of last questions here.
Yeah, go for
First
it.
off, go ahead and tell people where they can find you.
Everyone can find me on YouTube at BSquared24. You can also find me on Instagram and on Twitter at BSquared24. I've spent most of my time on Twitter, but I try to spend a little bit of time on Instagram as well. And I always enjoy interacting with people, so don't be afraid to shoot me a reply or say something. I read everything and really appreciate any support. So, all the subscriptions and likes and that kind of thing is super appreciated. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well, and great content, by the way. I love your stuff. So
I appreciate it. Thank
keep it
you.
up. Okay, so what is your favorite ink and your favorite card currently?
Ooh, okay. My favorite ink, I'm always, it's got to be Amber. Amber
Hmm.
has just like all the Stitch going on. I have been playing Steel Song, since the first chapter.
Yeah.
I get off and on it sometimes, depending on the meta relevance, but I always come back to Amber. I love a lot of the stuff they're doing in that. Um, it's always a conflict between Steel too for me, because like when I'm not playing
Yep.
Amber, I'm usually playing something with Steel.
Hmm.
But I'd have to say Amber. And then my favorite card right now, it's a good one. Hmm. I, I want to default to like one of the Stitch cards, but I'm not even like playing those cards very much. It's just like, I obviously love the Stitch Rockstar promo. Um, for the set champ promos, it's the first card that when I saw, it's the first card ever that when I saw it, I was like, I have to own this card. Like
Yeah.
I collect a
Yeah.
lot of cards, and there's a lot of cards that I really like, and there's enchanteds that I pull and think they're really cool. Um, but I was like, if I don't earn a Stitch Rockstar, I'm just gonna have to buy it. It like I love the art so much. Nicholas Cole is amazing at what he
Hmm.
does. Um, but I feel like that's not my true answer. I don't know what the like true card I'm enjoying the most right now is. I don't know. It'd have to be some like weird fun card that still sees competitive play, like a niche card or something. I don't know. I don't know. I'll go with Stitch Rockstar for now because that's all that I can think of.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I'll say
A good
actually, I'm sorry. I'll
classic.
change.
Yeah.
I'll change that. I really like Perdita. I know Perdita doesn't get like a
Yeah.
ton of play, and a lot of people played with her for a while. But when I play tested her at the beginning of Main Clans, I really liked being able to just pull something out from my discard. It was usually the two costs Stitch that had Rush, and I could just play
Yeah.
Perdita,
Yeah.
pull it out, run it into something, throw it back in the discard. The next turn, with Perdita, pull it out, run it into something again, throw it in the discard again. It was just a really
Yep.
fun engine that was going, so it probably would be Perdita.
All right. That's a great card. I love that card.
Hmm.
All right. And last question. I think I know the answer to this one already, but what's your favorite Disney film?
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna throw you for a loop.
Uh-oh.
I know I've talked so much about how much I love Stitch and Lilo and Stitch, and that it is my favorite character
Hmm.
and one of my favorite Disney movies. But if I had to pick a favorite Disney movie that I could probably watch every week, it would have to be Atlantis. Atlantis is just
Okay.
like, it's a movie that I didn't watch till a couple months ago.
Hmm.
And when I watched it, I was just like, how are more people not talking about this movie? Like, it was just so good, in my opinion. So many of the characters were lovable and awesome. It was a great story.
Hmm.
And it was just, I don't know, it was one I feel like a kid could enjoy. It was one that an adult could enjoy. Um, and it's one that I could watch very regularly. That would have to be my favorite Disney film.
Nice. Yeah, I'm actually in the same boat. I hadn't watched it when it came out, or anything like that. And then after I started playing the game, I was like, oh, there's all these characters from the movie. I should probably
Hmm.
watch the movie. And I think it might have been like 2 months ago, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's a great movie. Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know why it didn't get more popularity, but I
Yeah.
mean, I guess to
I
each their
um
own.
I make people a little bit mad when I say this, so apologies in advance, but I feel a lot of people talk about Treasure Planet and its nostalgia and like how it was a better movie than it was received. I think Atlantis is a better movie than Treasure Planet. Like
Yeah.
I think it deserves the love that Treasure Planet gets from everybody that loves Treasure Planet. And at least in the Lorcana community, now that a couple of Atlantis cards have come out, I feel like it's gotten closer to that. But for a
Hmm.
long time, I knew about Treasure Planet. I had no idea about Atlantis before a couple months ago, and it's just such a good movie.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk with me. I appreciate it. It's been a great chat. And yeah, I guess I will be seeing you around, mostly on Twitter, I guess.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was awesome.
Well, thanks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great interviews with members of the Lorcana community. See you next time.